almost cannot believe that I'm reading this headline. Rangers, Mets in agreement on Max Scherzer trade pending his waiving of no trade clause. But then again, I mean, if you're a Mets fan, please do not take this the wrong way. You know what I'm about to say is true. We're talking about the Mets. Bad things happen all the time. And one more thing that kind of just proved that bad things were going to happen today. Your Lord and Savior, Big Sexy Bartolo Colon, has officially retired from the game of baseball. There's no comeback attempt in the near future. So in my head, as soon as I saw this news at 9:30 this morning, I envisioned dark clouds rolling over the city of New York and that bad things were going to happen. Max Scherzer's been traded and the Mets game has actually been delayed because of rain. So I mean, without further ado, let's just go ahead and break this down. Later on in the video, we are going to go ahead and talk about the Lance Lynn and Joe Kelly trade. They're going from the White Sox to the Dodgers, but because Max Scherzer is obviously the biggest piece of this puzzle, we're going to talk about him first. Now, before we break down Max Scherzer's 2023 campaign, let's talk about exactly why he got traded. Now, some of you are probably thinking, Fuzzy, you clicked on the wrong tab. This is a Marlins acquiring David Robertson trade tab. What are we doing here? Well, this is probably why the Mets actually pulled the trigger on Max Scherzer, because I think that Max Scherzer wanted to get traded. So after Mad Max's last game, he was interviewed, and this is what he had to say. He was basically disappointed, or he was inferring that he was disappointed that the Mets were basically giving up on the 2023 campaign. I don't know if they were fully giving up on the season because they're only 6.5 games back of the wild card. We'll talk about their future in just a second. And also, we don't know the full trade in a nutshell. So by the time that this video comes out, hopefully I know who's going back to the Mets. But for right now, the things that we do know that are very crystal clear, Max Scherzer, he was not happy with the Mets. I mean, just listen to him.
Probably gotta have a conversation with the front office. I mean, you're trading our closer away. I'm sure a bunch of people are going to have conversations with the front office.
So Max Scherzer, who is probably the ace of the Mets, but then again, I think in 2023, Justin Verlander has kind of stolen that crown. I don't know if JV's about to get shipped as well. You guys have to let me know in the comments, but this was the straw that broke the camel's back in terms of Max Scherzer being on the Mets going forward. David Robertson was their closing pitcher. David Robertson was a big part of why the Mets were not 10 games or 15 games under 500. Have they underperformed? Yes. Did they spend $350 million to be sellers at the deadline and give some of their best players to their interdivision rivals, the Miami Marlins, who are ahead of them in the standings? Yes, that is all happening. Those are all objectively true. Those are facts, but it just kind of blows my mind that I'm even reading this. I did not have the Mets being sellers on my 2023 MLB bingo card. I thought that they were going to make a playoff push on paper. I thought that they had assembled pretty much the Avengers of Major League Baseball, and they fell completely on their face. And it's not even like they had a ton of injuries. I would argue that teams like the Yankees, teams like the Guardians, the Twins, but I mean, the Mets just did not perform well. Jeff McNeil, Pete Alonso, Francisco Lindor, I mean, pretty much everyone on the Mets, aside from Tommy Pham of all people, has had extended slumps throughout the season, and sometimes they were compounded because they were happening at the exact same time. I know I'm doing a lot of ranting. It's almost like a podcast right now, but this is so sudden, and I'm just reacting to it live with you guys. Now, before we talk about Mad Max and his performance in 2023, the fact that he's kind of fallen off a cliff, I do want to remind you guys that Max Scherzer has a player option for 2024. I don't know if the big holdup right now is either Mad Max not accepting the trade or they're working out the financials, because according to the rumors, all of the players that the Mets want, those are actually set in place right now. The Rangers, they created a package. The Mets are okay with that, and I'm hearing rumors. I can't believe that I'm saying this next sentence. Luisangel, or Luisangel, I don't know how to say his first name, I'm sorry, but Ronald Acuña Jr.'s little brother, who's got 20 plus doubles, 40 plus stolen bases in the minors this year, is said to be one of the centerpieces of that trade. Now, again, that's just a rumor. If that does not happen, I'm just going to go ahead and insert the full package right now because I'm reacting to this trade before we know who's going back to the Mets. So let me go ahead and do that right now. I'll just kind of splice it in. From rumor to reality, I told you guys I had some intel on this. Just kidding. I was on Twitter and I got all of the same rumors and reports as you guys. But Max Scherzer, he is going to the Rangers along with $22.5 million. And the only person going back to the Mets is the little brother of Ronald Acuña Jr., Luisangel Acuña. I did some research and I watched a few videos. That's how you pronounce his name. And look at him. He has the exact same setup as his older brother Ronald, with just a little bit of a bigger leg kick. Now, he absolutely flies on the bases. He's a whole lot smaller than his older brother. He's 5'8", but he's got 40 stolen bases at AA already. He's an extra base machine. The power, look at this. He goes the other way for a 2-run home run. The Mets might have a future star in another Acuña, it's just not going to be Ronald. So again, I'm still live reacting to this. You guys know the haul at this moment in time. I do not, but the full update, I just told you guys, Max Scherzer, he would be stupid to not want to pick up his $43 million player option in 2024. So the Rangers, they're hoping that Jacob deGrom is going to be healthy in the second half. I mean, this is so crazy. 39-year-old Max Scherzer, when is he turning 40? He's going to turn 40 in 2024 because his birthday was 2 days ago. Happy birthday, Max Scherzer. You have been traded to the first place Rangers. Not a bad birthday gift in my opinion, but his final start, we can see his game log. He won. The Mets are on a 2-game winning streak. They beat the Washington Nationals. He had 7 strikeouts, only gave up 1 run on 6 hits over 7 innings. Now, he did give up a home run. He gave up 4 home runs a couple days ago, so if we take a look and break down his 2023, he has a 4 ERA, and the thing about 2023 Mad Max is you can't even really write off his ERA because usually his FIP is really good. He has a near 5 FIP. FIP is a fancy stat. How good is a pitcher at striking guys out, not allowing home runs, not allowing walks and hits and stuff like that? The strikeouts are down, the walks are up, they've almost doubled, and the home runs have officially doubled. He went from a 0.8 home runs per 9 to a 1.9. Also, he's allowing 8.2 hits per 9, which is up from 6.7. Max Scherzer has been a complete shell of himself in 2023, and the response on Twitter from Mets fans is kind of like me, a Guardians fan, when we got rid of Amed Rosario. It's kind of addition by subtraction. Were there good moments? Yes. Well, I mean, was Mad Max really good in 2022? When it mattered, he wasn't very good. In the playoffs, he kind of stunk. But last year in 2022, at 37, 38 years old, a 2.2 ERA, a 2.6 FIP, he was really good. But when it matters the most, Max Scherzer kind of crumbles. He's kind of like the new Clayton Kershaw. But then again, Max Scherzer, he won the 2019 World Series. So there's just a lot to talk about. I know I'm going on different tangents and I'm kind of creating a multiverse of different branches that this trade could cause. But I mean, for right now, the Rangers, they're the winners. They're getting Max Scherzer on a team that kind of needs a bona fide ace. I love Nathan Eovaldi. I love John Gray. I love what Martin Perez has been able to kind of do over the last few years. And there's some other players like Andrew Heaney and Dane Dunning. Dane Dunning has been so much better this year. But Max Scherzer kind of inserting himself via a trade as the top dog in that rotation. The Rangers are self-aware. They're going to be losing Jonah Heim over the next 3, maybe 4 weeks with an injury. Corey Seager has had some issues as well. Jacob deGrom has already been lost for the season. So Mad Max, he's going to try and plug in some holes. I'm not saying that the ship is sinking in Texas, but there are some concerns right now. The Astros, they just got back Altuve. They just got back Yordan Alvarez. I know I'm doing a lot of talking. There's not a lot of highlights in today's video, but again, I wanted to get this video out ASAP. So Mad Max going to the Rangers. I've already talked about the haul. I don't know it right now, but we did break it down. So who won this trade? It just kind of blows my mind. You see over here, active total payroll. The active payroll right now for the Mets is $351 million after luxury tax. Essentially, they're at $377 million. The 2023 Mets are going to be infamous for a while because they're going to go down in history as one of the biggest failures in baseball history. So briefly, let's go ahead and break down the Lance Lynn and Joe Kelly trade. The Dodgers are going for a lot of misfits right now. Amed Rosario, Enrique Hernandez, Lance Lynn, Joe Kelly, they've all kind of been sent to Misfit Island via their original fan bases. But Lance Lynn, I mean, it's not like I can really argue with the White Sox fans being happy that he's gone. He's got a negative 1.2 WAR, a 6.5 ERA. But the crazy part about Lance Lynn is if we take a look at his game logs in 2023, a couple weeks ago, he was really good. On July 6th, right before the All-Star break against a pretty good Toronto team, he went 7 innings, only allowed 2 base runners. It was 1 hit and 1 walk with 11 strikeouts. A couple starts before that, he had 16 strikeouts in 7 innings against the Mariners. Now, the Mariners, they're a high strikeout team with J-Rod and Kelnick at the time. He was healthy, and Eugenio Suarez and Teoscar Hernandez. But 16 strikeouts, that's a lot regardless of who you're facing. So they're trying to go for a high strikeout guy. They think that they can fix and fine-tune his mechanics just like they think they're going to be able to do with Amed Rosario. And shout out to Amed Rosario. He had a big first game against the Cincinnati Reds in his first ever game with the Dodgers. So already I'm getting chirped at by Dodgers fans saying, I thought, Fuzzy, you said that Amed Rosario sucks. Joe Kelly, this makes more sense. I know that he has a 5 ERA ERA, but if you take a look at his kind of peripheral stats, the 5 ERA stinks, but he has a 3.25 FIP that actually is pretty good. That means he's striking out a lot of guys, and his walks are down this year. He's also not allowing a ton of home runs, but Joe Kelly, he's prone to a blow-up start every so often, and that's why his ERA over the last 2 seasons, I mean, he's been terrible with the White Sox. That was a complete waste of money. What was his combined ERA with the Chicago White Sox? 5.6 with a 3.14 FIP. So at this point, FIP doesn't mean anything. He was atrocious. I mean, this is where advanced stats can kind of get you in trouble because you want to just fantasize about high strikeout guys, but Joe Kelly, when runners are on, he's terrible. The big piece going back to Chicago, I'm not going to talk about every single player, but Nick Nastrini, apparently he's 6'3", he throws gas, he's pretty nasty. And now I don't know a lot about this guy. Also, they got reliever Jordan Leisure. Now, if you're from Great Britain, you probably read this as Jordan Leisure.
Shut up, bitch.
And then Trace Thompson, who was originally drafted by the Chicago White Sox. I don't know, the Dodgers, I would say that their ship isn't sinking, but they do have some holes, and they're filling it with, like, paper. They're filling it with paper, and it's going to keep on sinking because unless they can fix Lance Lynn, Joe Kelly, Ahmed Rosario, and Enrique Hernandez, I don't exactly know what they're thinking right now. But then again, they're probably not going to be used in high leverage situations, or they're only going to be used against lower teams like Lance Lynn. If they're facing the Nationals, probably going to get used. If Ahmed Rosario is facing a lefty, that's going to make more sense. But I think the White Sox had one more trade. Oh yeah, the Astros have reacquired Kendall Graveman. He was traded for Corey Lee. I like Corey Lee. He's not been able to figure it out at the major league level, but he's a catcher who rakes, at least in the minors. He's kind of a 4A player right now. In AAA last year, as a catcher, he hit 240 with 25 home runs and 12 stolen bases. That's pretty tantalizing and pretty impressive for a catcher, especially offensively. I don't know how he is defensively. Kendall Graveman, he's been decent this year. The strikeouts are down. He has a 3.4 ERA, so the strikeouts are down, the walks are up, the home runs are up, but the hits per 9 way down. So he's been more unhittable, and I think he's sacrificing some of that nasty stuff just to hit his spot a little bit more often. So there you go. That's today's recap, whatever this was in a nutshell, and I'll make sure that I get the full Max Scherzer trade kind of spliced in. You've already seen it. But that does it for today's little trade update video. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. I really appreciate all the support. If you guys want to keep up to date with all these trades, leave a like, subscribe, do all that crazy YouTube stuff, and I'll catch you in the next one.